Hi everyone, welcome back. We're doing something a little bit different this time. This time I'm not by myself. I have someone with me. So everyone, welcome Jeanet. Hi Jeanet.
Hi.
I'm guessing you want to know what we're watching. We are going to be watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Now, this is one of my favorite shows ever. So I have seen it a lot, but Jeanet, from what I know, hasn't seen any of it, right?
None whatsoever.
So before we get into it, curious, what do you think of when you hear the title?
Very little. I just know she's blonde.
There we go, everyone. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And of course, if we get enough people watching this, we will continue this on. Fingers crossed. And I say let's get straight into it.
I happen to forget to tell you that on Jeanet's channel, we will be watching Strong Girl Pong Son. So if you want to watch a nice, funny Korean show, then head on over there. I'll leave the link to her channel in the description box below.
Is it a museum?
I don't want to go up there.
Oh, you can't wait, huh?
You're just gonna get in trouble.
Imagine he turns around and she's not there.
Oh, that would be so creepy.
Because he's the thing in the night.
Okay.
Kind of seems like her, what do you call it? Coming of age, like awakening moment.
Oh, right, I see what you mean, yeah.
Have a good time. I know you're gonna make friends right away. Just think positive.
Because that's how that works.
And honey, try not to get kicked out. I promise.
Thanks, Mom.
Boo. Excuse me?
And what is he gonna crash into?
There we go.
You know, I kind of had a problem with the math.
Which part?
The math. Can you help me out tonight, please? Be my study buddy.
Oh, what's in it for me?
Hey, Jesse, what's what?
New girl.
That's right, I saw her. Pretty much a hottie.
I heard someone was transferring.
So.
Welcome to Sunnydale. A clean slate, Buffy. That's what you get here. What's past is
Oh, wow.
past.
Mr. Flutie.
All the kids here are free to call me Bob,
Bob.
but they don't.
I know my transcripts are a little colorful.
Hey, not dismal.
Wasn't that bad.
You burned down the gym.
I really did, but I mean, that gym was full of vampire asbestos.
Uh,
Can I have you?
what?
I'm Buffy. I'm new.
Xander. Is me. Hi.
Oh, thanks.
Maybe at school, since we both
Xander.
go there.
Great. It was nice to meet you.
But the fun part of the Black Plague is that it originated in Europe, how?
Yeah.
Come on,
right.
As an
people.
early form of germ warfare.
I'm Cordelia. I'm Buffy.
If you're looking for a textbook of your very own, there's probably a few in the library.
Oh, great, thanks. Where would that be?
You're from
You're
Henry,
being very
right?
helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't decide if I
Those
should
live in
trust
LA.
her or not.
Close to that many shoes?
John Tesh.
The devil.
That was pretty much a gimme, but you passed.
Oh, good to hear.
That is like such a chill way of
Nice
being
dress. Good to
decided.
know you've seen the softer side of Sears.
Is
No
this
wonder
the
you're
girl
such
from
a
How I
guy
Met Your
magnet.
Mother?
Are you done?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh,
It's a nice looking
wow.
library.
Yeah, I was about to say, I wish that was
is
ours.
anybody here?
Right?
Who's investigating what?
Anybody's here.
Can I help you? Giles. The librarian. I was told you were coming.
Why do you seem like you're part of a secret
So,
organization? But you are!
That's not what I'm looking for.
All the things to put down right there.
Sure.
She's like, I am avoiding my destiny. Get away from me.
Weird to me. What kind of name is Buffy? Hey, Aphrodisia. Oh, hey. Well, the chatter in the caf is that she got kicked out, and that's she was starting fights. Nightly. Well, I
They
Language.
sound like they're talking a different language. Yes! I mean, fair, I would scream like that.
Hi. Willow, right? Why? I mean, hi.
Oh, Willow.
Want me to move? Then let's segue directly into me asking you for a favor. It doesn't involve moving, but it does involve hanging out with me for a while. Cordelia's been really nice to me, anyway. But
That's you.
I like that you.
burning
I
desire
like that
not
you
to
caught
flunk all
that.
my classes, and I heard a rumor that you were the person to talk to if I wanted to get caught up.
Who's Jesse and that's Xander?
Oh, me and Buffy go way back, old friends, very close. Then there was that period of estrangement where I think we were both growing as people. Return this. The only thing I can think is that you're building a really little fence.
I'll go with that.
No, she's
Mhm.
not hanging out with us.
Hey, Cordelia.
Willow.
I don't mean to interrupt your downward mobility. Gym was canceled due to the extreme dead guy in the locker.
What?
What are you talking about?
Some guy was stuffed in Aura's locker.
We appreciate the
Way
exposition.
dead.
It's not just a
This is
little
something
bit.
else.
I don't have elsewhere to be.
You know, if you
Yeah,
need a
it's not
shoulder to cry on or just to nibble on.
How did he
Oh.
die?
I don't know.
By
Oh,
being
were there
nibbled on.
marks?
Morbid much?
She's a little bit strong. Ah.
Oh, great. Hey, what's the stitch?
Sorry?
You heard about the dead
That
guy,
sounds
right?
like
Dead
my
guy
brain
locker?
just went to Kim Possible. I'm so sorry.
It's the weirdest thing.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I didn't think there'd be vampires on campus, and I don't care.
And why are you here?
Mhm.
Yeah.
To tell you that I don't care, which
Oh,
I don't, and have now told you. If you a vampire, they have to suck your blood, and then you have to suck their blood. It's like a whole big sucking thing. Mostly, they're just gonna kill you.
at least you know a little bit
You're
about the lore
nice.
there.
You think it's coincidence you're being here? That boy was just the beginning.
Oh, why can't you people just leave me alone?
Because you are the Slayer.
Mm-hmm.
To each generation, a Slayer is born. One girl in all the world, a chosen one born with the
Strength and skill to hunt the vampires, to stop the spread of their evil blah, blah, blah. I've heard it, okay?
I really don't understand this attitude. What?
Oh,
It's
yes.
getting worse.
Yeah, he just happened to be there.
Come on. This is Sunnydale. How bad and evil can there be here?
Never say that.
Right? Who says that? I mean, he literally told you all the type of things that could be about.
Was that a reference to David Lynch's one film? Blue
We'll
Velvet?
find out. I
I
guess
think
we'll
that might have
find out.
been. Definitely.
Amen.
I love the makeup in this.
Hi, I'm an enormous slut. Hello, would you like a copy of the Watchtower?
Just, dead of night, walking out there by yourself.
As you do. Is it gonna be that guy that can't seem to string a sentence together when it's the two of them?
Oh, yeah, I see. I was like, who are you talking about? And then I was like, oh, Xander.
Yes, Xander. That's a lot of very highly styled hair. Oh!
Huh?
Damn, that's cool. Ow.
And a backflip.
Is there a problem, ma'am? I know what you're thinking.
Oh, what's that guy?
I don't bite.
It's the lead actor from Bones.
Yep.
What do I want?
To kill him. To kill them all. And it's about to open.
I love how
Don't turn your back
unashamedly
on
like
this.
obvious they are about things.
Who are you?
Let's just say I'm a friend.
Yeah, well, maybe I don't want a friend.
I didn't say I was yours.
That's so unnecessarily creepy.
But he's not wrong. He didn't say he was her friend.
No.
Does that add to the creepiness?
Yeah, in a lot of ways. Because it could either be like something that looks like it's gonna help her and then it doesn't, or it could be something that helps her, but the fact that he's like, I didn't say it was yours is what's confusing it.
Oh, and why would you wave at someone who you clearly don't know and doesn't know you? Oh, that was uncomfortable.
Hi. Hi, you here with someone? No, I'm just here. I thought Xander was gonna show up. We used to go out, but we broke up. How come? He stole my Barbie. Oh, we were 5.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to say anything cool or witty or at all. I can usually make a few vowel sounds and then I have to go away. It's not that bad. Well, my philosophy. Do you want to hear my philosophy? Yeah, I do. Life is short. Why waste time being all shy and worrying about some guy and if he's gonna laugh at you? Seize the moment, because tomorrow you might be dead. Oh, that's nice.
I really like Willow.
So, you like to party with the students? Am that kind of skanky?
Oh, right. This is me having fun. Watching clown hair prance about. I'd rather be at home with a cup of Bovril and a good book.
He's very
You
British.
Bovril?
That.
This is a...
Harvest is coming, I know. Your friend told me.
What did you say?
The harvest. That means something to you, because I'm drawing a blank.
Who told you this?
This guy. Dark, gorgeous, in an annoying sort of way. I figured you two were buds. I really didn't like him.
That's not what you just said, though.
I know, right? She just said he was gorgeous.
On the prowl. Witness me prowling.
Who are you
Why
talking
do I
to?
feel like he's gonna be the next victim?
A vampire appears to be completely normal until the feed is upon them. Only then do they reveal their true demonic visage.
You're like a textbook with arms. I know it.
Point is, a slayer should know. Even through this mass and this dim, you should be able to sense them. Well, try. Reach out with your life.
I like that she's not
Hone your
already
senses.
like the
Focus
perfect
till the energy
slayer.
washes over you till you feel every particle of it.
There's one.
Where?
Right there. Talking to that girl. Oh, no.
Isn't that...
Willow.
What's she doing?
Seizing the moment.
Uh-huh. I'm just ready for another jump scare.
Cordelia!
Casually ready to murder her?
God! What is your childhood trauma? Have you guys seen Willow? Did she come
Goodness,
back?
Cordelia, you
Do
don't
need to
just
attack her
ask
with a
someone what their
stick?
childhood trauma is.
Jeez.
I mean, clearly she does.
So, what did you say your name was?
Darla.
Darla. You know, I haven't seen you around before. Are you from around here?
Yeah, she
No,
was in your
but
school
I
just the
found
other
one
day. Is that the same actor that was murdered earlier?
Hell.
Hmm.
Luke,
Yes.
bring me something young.
Oh goodness, Willow's gonna
Sure
be
is
part of
dark.
the food.
Oh, hey, I hope he's not a vampire because then you might have to slay him. I only know that you think that you're the Slayer, and the reason why I know that.
Whatever, it doesn't matter. Just tell me, where would Willow go? Don't find her, and there's gonna be one more dead body in the morning. Oh,
That's so random because I'm like,
scary.
I have a
Are
lot
you
of
sure
thoughts. I
this
will
is
wait.
faster?
Well, you can say them as well as you're going along.
One of these?
Ah, that was a very delayed reaction on my part.
She's fresh.
Leave us alone.
You're not going anywhere until we fed.
We bail now, right?
Not yet.
You can. She's
You
staying.
can
First of
go.
all,
What's with the outfit? Live in the now, okay? You look like DeBarge.
One vamp down.
That was surprisingly easy. I'm just scared that the dude that was given a hickey is gonna turn. I know there's a lot of sucking involved. We don't know if that's already occurred.
You know,
That's
I
true.
just wanted to start over. Be like everybody else. Have some friends, you know, maybe a dog. But no. You had to come here.
You're
You couldn't go
monologuing.
stuck
Stop
on some other
monologuing.
town. Who are you? Don't you know?
I don't care.
This is why we do not monologue.
The strength of him, though. Go on, Buffy.
I mean, she did tell you
strong.
she's strong.
I'm stronger. You have no idea what you're dealing with.
Oh, I felt that. He monologues a lot as well.
I mean, you've seen worse, right? That's a cool camera angle. Wait, why is there gonna be another jump scare? I can feel it with my bones.
Amen.
Surprise.
That's cruel. That is outright
that means-
cruel.
I guess that means you're going to have to watch episode 2 then, because it's a 2-parter.
Hmm. That is really cruel. Like, first episode to be continued.
But yeah, how do you feel about that to be continued?
Insulted.
I think it was such a good thing for them to do. I think when it originally aired, because I'm not sure about it in the States, but over here they aired both episodes together. So you got the to be continued, but then the next thing that came on TV was the next episode. So we didn't have to
Okay,
wait,
that's
but
better.
you do.
Mm-hmm. Indefinitely, because we don't know when we're going to be posting this even.
That is true. Are you ready for a discussion about it then?
Oh goodness, it's a lot because like it's difficult with these kinds of shows because you don't quite know where the limits are for the show yet within like the first episode. So it's hard to speculate where it would go. But it is like I really like the characters, even the mean girl, which I'm surprised by because I feel like very shortly after this era of TV, the mean girl started being like almost inhuman, whereas I felt like in this it was still very much like, you know, she has some good aspects, she has some bad ones, which makes her a little bit more likable, which was nice. And then I really like Willow. She's very sweet.
I knew you would like Willow. I knew because I think it's it's like as you just said, the characters are very well written for just one episode. You get a sense of their personalities already. And with
Yeah.
Willow, for me, when I just wanted to protect her
Yeah.
because she just seems so sweet and innocent, and unfortunately, clearly a little bit bullied by what we saw from Cordelia. That's the mean girl's name is Cordelia. You'll get used to the names. They are names. But I agree with you in that in terms of the character of Cordelia, it is very typical 90s writing. If you think about the mean girl aspect of it, and then Willow's character, and then Xander, who, you know, and I think that's what's good about just from this episode, obviously, is how well they're written, including the language in which they use.
Yeah, it's all very like dated, but in a way that I feel like creates a time capsule that allows it to be watched, you know, now. Whereas sometimes like with some references like with social media and so that can really date a show, but in a way that kind of like makes it hard to rewatch it a few years on. So I feel like they managed to avoid that because it also like it's close to the languaging is close to that time, but it's just a little bit off where it feels like it's its own thing. I think this is gonna sound strange to be compared to, but like how Scooby-Doo also like is very much within the era that it was meant to be set in, but then it's a little bit off, so it feels like it's an alternative universe to something like to an era that we knew.
Well, yeah, I mean, you'll figure out as you go along with the speech patterns and the way they speak is very Whedon-esque. Jaws has this very specific way to write characters to speak. It's also supposed to be Californian tour. It's it's supposed to be West Coast tour. It kind of reminded me when I first watched it of Clueless because
I never watched Clueless.
Okay, well, we might have to watch that. There is a TV show and a movie, but it is interesting because they are using certain language and things that we would never hear. And as you said, it is dated, but it works. And as you said, this is before social media. This was released in 1997, and it would have been filmed in 1996.
So like 2 years after I was born.
Yeah, so you'll understand like you said, like the capsule of it, the time capsule, and the way they speak. Like there was a moment when Cordelia was grilling Buffy about, passing the pool test, and she mentioned James Spader, which even for the time back then was really obscure. I thought she might have gone for Christian Bale or something like that, or Brad Pitt, but she went for James Spader, and I think that also tells you the age of the people writing the show as well.
True,
And it gives you this sense, like you said, like of the time period, but it works, if that makes sense. I feel like these characters are very relatable.
Yeah. And I also like I like the fact that you get a very clear sense of Buffy as a person as well. Like you can at least like obviously as you watch the show now, my opinion might change, but even from the first episode, I could kind of like guess what had probably occurred when she like before she left. Without needing to have specifics, you kind of get this sense that she was probably approached about her like destiny, was really keen about it at the start until she started realizing the real life like ramifications of the kind of life that she chose to live. And then suddenly she's being hit with the reality, which is why she's kind of trying to run away from it and trying to start anew. And even if that's not the case, like even if I find out later that that's not the case, it feels real and it feels like compelling enough that whether I find out what the real reason is for everything that happened before the series started, later on, it doesn't really matter that much to how she comes across from the get-go.
Yeah, something I'm gonna ask you. How did you feel when you found out that she already was a Slayer instead of this was an episode where she finds out she's one?
I really liked it. Like it's nice, and it because I think a lot of the times, obviously, they kind of want the audience to jump into the world at the same time that the main character jumps into the world, like
Yeah,
into the discovery phase, because then writing an exposition and so on is much easier because you're explaining it to the characters at the same time that you're explaining it to the audience. But I actually like that they didn't go that route, and because of that, because a lot of the times, and I'm sure you'll know, with storytelling, you have that moment where the character is resisting the fate that has been placed upon them, and they
yeah,
have to make the decision on whether or not they go or they stay. And obviously they stay because otherwise there wouldn't be a story. But like kind of having it, like having us drop into her already like being in that resistance phase, I thought worked a lot better because it allowed the story to move much quicker without it
yeah.
feeling like the pacing was off.
I completely agree because it means you don't have an episode or two or three to kind of get the hang of things. You're already put into the thick of it, which means we as audience don't have to find out every little detail. She's already been doing it for said period of time. And so, as you said, we're not on that ride where she's figuring it out. Like we're not there. Instead, we've been given this little nuggets of information. And that's something that she already knows. But as an audience, it means that the narrative can be pushed a lot quicker, which means we can get to whatever stories are coming up and enjoyment if we obviously enjoy the show.
And also I feel like the fact that they threw us into her already, like kind of knowing the ropes, heightened the stakes, no pun intended, because like suddenly she's already kind of like in her eyes a relatively competent Slayer. Like she's been there, she's done that, she literally says that, and then she thinks it's just going to be another job, and here we're at the end of the episode and she's clearly in over her head. So it immediately like heightens the tension so much more than it would be if we were like, okay, it's the first episode, we're getting into it, like obviously she's not going to know what she's doing, so
Yeah,
it doesn't matter that much if she doesn't immediately like defeat the person, because she's not supposed to already be able to do that.
so something that I really also enjoyed was that they are so young. So her attitude and the way she comes across and how the naivety that she has in elements of this episode works because she's 16, which means how old was she when she became a Slayer, and what has she already gone through at this point? And it allows these little moments, like when she speaks about the guy's fashion, or just the way she answers back. I feel like it really relates to someone who is so young and is figuring out, if you think about it, her life in this new town, and then also how she's going to focus on the Slayer side of things as well, because this is clearly a very strong enemy. And as you said, she's way over her head, but she's also way over her head in her social standings right now, because she's got to deal with making new friends, new town, and also kind of almost staking Cordelia.
Yeah, because that's gonna come back to haunt her. But like I actually quite like the balance of kind of the moments where it's very clear that she's still, as you say, naive, and then like her blaseness also makes sense because she's been dealing with this. Whereas how in some shows, and I mean I still end up loving those shows, but it is kind of like technically a flaw in the writing. You'll have a character that was just introduced to this very like scary, intimidating world, and they immediately like come with the quips and the like,
Yeah,
as if they've been doing this forever and they're not really like intimidated by anything anymore. So her blaseness actually made sense for me because she had been doing this for a while. She's obviously used to it being relatively easy. And so her like almost nonchalance while she was confronting the vampires there made so much sense. And then I really liked it because you have that like childlike view of the world, and then you have the moments where you see that, you know, she had to grow up a bit quicker because she's like, this
Yeah.
is all the things that I've had to give up because of this stupid destiny that everyone keeps telling me about. I'm not oblivious to the pain that I've been put through because of this. It's not easy. And
Yeah.
it felt like it rang a lot more true because it was strangely tonally consistent, despite like the fact that there's a lot of ups and downs and in her moods, you know. So I like that.
What did you think, as someone who writes, what did you think of the writing of the show and the humor of the show?
It was very much like, for me, a product of its time, but that's not necessarily like a bad thing. It just immediately invoked that like nostalgia that comes with that time's humor for me, because like I'm thinking of things like Charmed and, you know, things like that very much was also in that era.
Yes.
So a lot of the lines was kind of like something that was expected for that time, but in a way that brought its own enjoyment because it's kind of so predictable. Like I think there's a very fine line between predictable in a bad way and like writing something in a way that will be enjoyable because of nostalgia in the long run.
What I like is you're going to be looking at this through a lens from 2023. I'm looking at this from someone who's watched it before, but also the lens of someone who watched this when it first came out in the UK in 1998. I think is when it came out. So it's always interesting to see how someone takes it, because as writing develops, plots develop, you can pick things out. I think, especially if you work in the industry, you can pick things out of what are coming and how they're setting things up. But I feel like the show does such a good job. Even now, as you said, it is a product of its time, but it does work. For me personally, what got me, and it was this first episode that got me hooked on the show, there were two moments, and it was the writing. And it was the moment where Cordelia says, "What is your childhood trauma?" That it was something I'd never heard a character say. And the way she said it as well was like, who speaks like this? But apparently she does. But also the moment where those two girls are in the locker and one says, "What kind of name is Buffy?" And then the next person who goes past it says, "Hi, Aphrodisia." That line genuinely always makes me smile or laugh, because that is how I knew the style, the kind of humor and comedy that was going to come from this episode. And it hooked me because I thought that was such smart writing, in my opinion, because it was just so funny.
I think what I like about it is it's meta without being meta. Like it seems to be very self-aware.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, because I think that when a show is self-aware, it can do a lot more than when something is like thinking that it's better than it actually is, and that it just becomes pretentious.
Yeah.
So I think like, because the thing is, I feel like the failing of a lot of like modern shows and movies is it thinks it's doing a lot more than it is, whereas like Buffy very clearly knows the niche that it's trying to appeal to, the audience that it's trying to appeal to, and it's having fun with it, and not taking itself too seriously. But because of that, the moments where it does take itself seriously, like the moment where she's discussing all the things that she's gone through, it hits hard and it hits true.
Yes, and especially like I said when we mentioned earlier about her age, when you find out how old she is and how kind of jaded she feels from this experience, and you can sense the weight of the world on her shoulders at such a young age. And as you pointed out, she's clearly gone through a lot of stuff, and that clearly looks like school life from before, and then home life, because there's many things that obviously we're not privy to that have happened, which I think is smart on them to allow that to have happened, for us to be curious about, well, what actually happened. But instead, it throws you straight into her world now, but it shows you that, you know, things have happened for her, and it's not, I'm guessing, easy. Can you imagine, like, because he says in every generation, so you know there's just her, so imagine being the only one
in the entire world, he also said. So it's not like she can go on a forum and, like, you know, vampireslayers.com and figure out what the hell to expect.
Well, though, I don't even think, when did the forums start? I think they started, I don't think they had even started properly, like really big forums, by the time this came out either. So yeah, I'm just thinking of the date of all of this. And it's also interesting because if you think about it, there's now the added pressure of Xander and Willow and Jesse knowing who she is. So that's three people who's like, oh crap. And as you just saw, you don't know what happens to them. There's a dun dun dun. This is a to be continued. And you know, Giles is talking to her, the librarian man, and he's saying all these things to her. And you know, she clearly needs guidance, but is resistant against it because of not wanting to clearly be a Slayer and have all this pressure. And I thought that was really smartly done for an audience, because you, like you said, you understood Buffy pretty well from just one episode, and I think that's hard to do for a lot of shows.
Yeah, and like I also appreciate, because like you kind of get a sense for the lore of the world without like it being directly spelled to you. Like obviously there were the moments of clear exposition, but I'm talking about more things like the fact that Giles exists, and he exists in a school that he mentions vaguely, oh, you know, I know who you are, and so on. So someone obviously had told him she was coming. So it already sets up this idea that probably there's watchers in every like city, just in case, for watching purposes, to make sure that things don't get out of hand in every city, and that they can communicate with each other and kind of keep each other up to date on what's going on the supernatural side where they're at. So it already kind of gives a sense of an expanded world without the writers needing to do too much to really flesh it out, which is great.
Yeah. There's two things I want to, how did you feel that he had to be British? And also, what did you think of the strange shadow guy from Bones who was following Buffy?
I'm always a sucker for a randomly placed British librarian.
How many have you seen in shows?
Too many to count. I don't know. There's always like I feel like for a while there was this trope of, if a guy had a British accent and was a little bit older, he is the wise British wizard that's going to come and sort out your problems, regardless of whether or not there's magic in the show or not. So I feel like he perfectly fits that trope, and I'm living for every single second of it. We shall see if they end up subverting it or not, but even if they don't, I love it. I don't know if I can trust the guy from Bones. We shall see, because like there's just something very slimy about the way that he seemed in that first thing. But the show to me does seem like it likes to play with subversions, misdirects, and things like that. And maybe I'm giving it too much credit, but I wouldn't be surprised if like later on he's much less mysterious than he first appears. Like he's actually just this very basic guy that's just trying to do his job, and you know, he heard this is how you're supposed to be, and that so he just played into that kind of thing. So we'll see how it goes. But for now, he just seems slimy.
I like when you spoke about the subversion of expectations, because I do feel like the opening is such a great moment, because I've seen many reactions to this, and it's always a shock when the blonde one who's dressed in the schoolgirl uniform is the vampire. And I think you're right. I'm not going to tell you anything about this show, which is fun because I can now just watch you get involved in it, and it feels like a show that you would like. It feels like you're already quite involved and wanted to know what happens just from one episode. But I could be wrong. But just from hearing you talk about it, it feels like you understood pretty well, like for just one episode, like what was happening and what your possibilities in your mind could be for stories. And I like that because it's a show that I think, if you watch the first episode, kind of just keep you a little bit on your toes, but also, as at the beginning, gave away that shock. But then, as you just said, the shadow guy, as we'll call him, you don't know anything about him. You don't know anything about the librarian. So far, you just know that he watches, as Buffy said. And it's a good way to kind of, I feel like, reel people in, because I feel like it gives you this little sliver of, well, can I trust this person? Can I not? You know, and then kind of reels you in a little bit by giving you an answer to one of them. But then all of a sudden you've got like 4 more questions that come out of, well, what about this person, this person, this person?
But yeah, generally speaking, I really liked it. I feel like the thing of the costuming and the like makeup is just something that I have to accept with this kind of show. Like, I mean, I think for the time it was really good. And I don't think it's gonna impact whether I'm given a jump scare or not, so it's fine.
Yeah. I personally, I understand about the costume and the clothing, because obviously it is mid-90s clothing, so it is going to be a very look back to fashions past. Personally, for me, and I love the makeup, but then, as you know, I kind of like that scary, macabre, like that. Like I like it because it's dark, but I can understand that. Yes, it takes a little bit getting used to, especially because these vampires, as you see, their faces aren't the faces that we usually see on other vampire things, where they're really pretty. In this, they intentionally
that I don't mind.
transfer.
But I actually
You just didn't like the
quite
prosthetics.
Yeah. I'm very picky when it comes to prosthetics, to be fair. I'm very snobbish about that, unfortunately.
That is absolutely, I personally loved it, but like you said, it's something you'll get used to. And obviously, we are looking at a season 1 show. This was a mid-season replacement. So there are only 12 episodes instead of the regular 22, etc., that they usually do for a season. So this was a mid-season replacement. So the budget isn't going to be the biggest, obviously, but as you saw, they can do a lot with what you saw in just 1 episode.
Yeah. But okay, now considering you have watched it already without spoilers, do you think they did like nods to classics? Because for me, like the one that I mentioned, the David Lynch, it really like felt like that was intentional, because with the David Lynch, I don't know if you've seen Blue Velvet, damn it, or if you know of like
I do know of it.
around
Yeah.
it. But like to me, it did kind of feel intentional, because you have the like underbelly. Oh, it's vampires. It's not like normal murderers. It's supernatural murderers.
Supernatural.
And then, I don't know how intentional it was, but to me, the fact that one of the main villains kind of looked like the stereotypical old time Dracula.
Nosferatu.
Yeah, I really like that, actually.
This is no spoiler because we're only talking about this episode. I will not talk about it in a general sense if they ever do that. That is not what we do. But what I will say is I think it is intentional in this episode to harken back to classics. I mean, the Master, as that's what he was called, does look like Nosferatu. So it is very clearly intentionally taken homage to classics and kind of letting you know that this person who created or wrote this episode knows about them. I think that was very smart because it's like, okay, we have clearly classic references that we can pick on now, especially years later, to know what these are. And I do think that was intentional in this episode. I don't think many people, especially because I watched it so young, I think if you were older, you may have got these references. And I think that's what made it so good, because it definitely is an homage to classic like monsters and ideas of like supernatural, what lies underneath. Because obviously that was a nice moment where she was like, well, what kind of big bad can there be? And then it pans down to this massive underground layer with lots of candles. And I thought that was a really nice like way to do it, and to say, remember these moments, because it's clearly giving you moments to remember. But do you remember these moments, or do you understand what the references are? But that's only for this episode. I can't say if there's any more references. I can't tell you anything else that happens. All I know is it is a to be continued. And it is one of those moments where when you see someone watch it and they realize it's a to be continued, it's like, okay, we've got you for at least 2 episodes, because it means you want to see at least the second episode. And I hope you enjoyed it. And if you do want to watch more Buffy, and yeah, if you want to watch more Buffy, I'm more than happy to watch it with you.
Okay, well, I guess we'll have to wait for the audience's verdict.
Hopefully, if you do like it, guys, thumbs up, subscribe, like, comment. Don't spoil anything, because she has no clue whatsoever is happening. I mean, not one iota of a clue, and I want it to stay like that. Thank you for watching, everyone.